I'm Pam Puso, Fox News. Former President Trump is moving forward after being found guilty on all charges in his hush money trial in New York City.
Former President Donald Trump promises to appeal, and here's how that will work. He'll have 30 days to do it after his sentencing hearing on July 11th. At Trump Tower, the former president criticized Judge Juan Merchan. He called Merchan a tyrant for imposing a gag order on him and refusing to allow the full testimony of former FEC Commissioner Brad Smith.
We're going to be appealing it on many different things. He wouldn't allow us to have witnesses. He wouldn't allow us to talk. He wouldn't allow us to do anything. The judge was a tyrant.
The deadline for post-trial motions is in under 2 weeks, but Trump's attorneys indicate one of their reasons for appeal is a perception of Merchan's bias.
Fox's Nate Foy. Jury selection begins Monday in the case against President Biden's son Hunter, who is facing federal gun charges.
Hunter Biden's life will change Monday when jury selection kicks off in his federal trial. We now know some of the evidence that will be presented during trial. Special counsel David Weiss's team will introduce parts of the Hunter Biden laptop as evidence, which Hunter's lawyers fought to exclude. We don't know yet which parts, though. Remember, this is the same laptop that 51 former intelligence officials touted as having all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. It wasn't, and the special counsel's office wrote the defendant's laptop is real. It will be introduced as a trial exhibit, and it contains significant evidence of the defendant's guilt.
That's Fox's David Spunt. Marion Robinson, the mother of former First Lady Michelle Obama, has died. In a post on X, Michelle Obama said her mother was a steady backstop for the entire family. She was 86 years old. America's listening.
Good morning. Welcome. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. First day of June. I know summer's already started, but it's kind of, to me, it feels like today. It's June, leading to July and August, which each month goes by, it gets hotter. Well, let's heat things up today on Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. I am your host, Gregory Ricks. Next weekend, kind of loosely, is our 14th anniversary. I don't know what we'll do on a special show or anything, but I just think it's crazy to have been doing this that long. When I first had the opportunity, because I'd kind of be careful. You've heard this saying, be careful what you ask for, because I'd asked for that opportunity. Then it was presented to me. Then I'm like, oh no, I'm not sure I can do this. And then they talked me into it, said, yes, you can. And here we are, almost 14 years later. If you want to join the conversation, the magic over the 14 years is listener contributions. You make a difference. The feedback, whether I see you in public, you writing in, making requests for the show, you call in. And I'll throw this out there. Sometimes you might want a topic or have a question and would like to hear it addressed on the show, or also information from one of our contributors. And I'll start mentioning this, but I think you already know, but you might not. But your feedback is tremendous, and if there's something you'd like to hear or a take on a certain topic, remember, it's a financial show, okay? Email me, info@gregoryricks.com. To join the conversation, you know the rules. You can reach out to us through the Winning at Life app, text, email, call the show, become a part of the Winning at Life Nation. We're working on some things to expand benefits to the nation as well, to help impact your life for the better. Philosophies get tweaked and adjusted how I look at things over the years. And I'm sure you've picked up on that as well by listening to me on the show over these years. But you can call directly in 504-2600-995. We've got Wes Blanchard, estate planning attorney, here with us. First hour of the show. Hour two, starting in the second segment, so which would be roughly 11:15. We've got Nicholas Rohde, wealth advisor over at Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority, advisors and retirement solutions. He's got a few things he would like to talk with you about. So we're going to have a conversation with Nicholas, and he and I have worked together for, I'll just say, years and years and years, and he's awesome. Yeah, he is actually very awesome. So we get to hear from him today as well. I've got a number of topics to cover with you, on news items to catch up, and oh my gosh, what a week this has been. And I'm going to give you some market updates on what we're seeing. A new thing I'm doing each week is kind of giving you the market minute, is kind of a weekly view of what's going on as well in the marketplace. So we're trying to get more information out there for you to make better decisions. I had a couple of wine tasting events this past week, so we got a lot of feedback. And I think it's created a couple things I want to talk with you about. Definitely at some point in the show, but probably in hour 3 as well. And then we're going to cover some news stories as well that's going on. There's a couple of things I saw in the New Orleans Advocate, as well as the Sun Herald as well. Something I think was a big story that hit the front page of that paper today. So it's just, but it's not financial, it's food related. So I think it's kind of important. We'll talk about that. And we already know what was this? The trial of the century that happened. And my viewpoint, yeah, that was a circus. With that said, everybody's got their own opinion. We're not here to talk about that. But I think change is coming, one way or another. So, food for thought there. But what we, and so much of what's going on now, and what I look at it as, is over time. And you're not going to see the ramifications short range, but you're going to see it a decade out, 20 years out, the ramifications of what's going on. And I use history as a guide, and the pendulum swings back and forth. And I think we've got an extreme swing, and I don't know how far back it swings the other way. But problems that I think impact us in our living, how we feel about things, inflation, cost of goods, global market competition, how's that impacting us? And do we feel safe in our cities, in our communities? I think that's got to be something that gets tightened up on more as well. So your thoughts are welcome, but the core thing we want to talk about this first hour is estate planning with Wes Blanchard. I held an event a couple of weeks ago regarding that topic, and I think it was one of my better events, Wes, regarding that topic. I missed you there, but I stood in for you really well.
I appreciate that.
On that topic, and we just kind of had a full house and a lot of great feedback from that. What's on your mind lately regarding estate planning? Because I'll give you some of my thoughts, but I want to hear you first.
Well, just, I always like to touch on the topics that my clients are discussing, right? What's on their mind kind of helps me to figure out what the pulse is out there. And more recently than not, we've had a lot of discussions about revocable trust and wills. And so, it fluctuates. Sometimes we're focused seemingly for months at a time on doing successions and helping people through that process. Other times we're focused on trying to avoid succession, which is what a lot of those topics are concerning these living trusts. So, that's really been kind of the topic du jour. And then also just kind of explaining the ins and outs and, what it does for you, how does it work, what it doesn't do. It's always interesting to have that conversation and understand where the line is with regards to a trust or a will vis-a-vis a beneficiary designation. That might be on your CD or your IRA or something like that. And there's a lot of clients that come in, they have a good understanding of what an estate plan is in general, but maybe not the nuances and sort of the ins and outs and what part controls which aspect of your estate. So that's something that we always like to kind of educate people on. That's a topic we touch on at the seminars typically is to understand that your beneficiary designations are going to overrule your will, and your will is going to cover this, but what is your trust covering, and what circumstances are you projecting for your future and your heirs and things like that. That's really what has been the focus, I would say, the last 2 weeks of client meetings. It's been really kind of what everyone seems to want to know lately.
When you say beneficiary designations are going to override your will, what are you referring to?
Yeah, so the beneficiary designations on your life insurance policies, your 401ks, your wills, your CDs, your annuities, that's a contract between you and that provider, right? And at the time you pass away, that's a triggering event according to that contract. And the next step in that contract calls for a payout typically. The payout is determined by who you list in that contract, not who you list in your will, not who you list in your trust. If you list a beneficiary within that contract, that annuity contract, 401k, IRA, and so on, that contract will be followed. Your will is not going to determine who gets that asset. That asset is going to be determined exactly by the beneficiary designated in that contract. And so a lot of times that's where most people's wealth is. Right? We look and people save and save and save. And you kind of take a step back. Typically at retirement age, you have a good portfolio set up through an IRA or 401k, and you have your house. So those are typically going to be your biggest assets. And that's always the focus of where we typically start. But understanding how they might intersect financially during your lifetime versus how they differentiate once you pass away is a big deal. Right. And so you want to make sure that sometimes you designate certain benefits to certain people because of what you've kind of done in your will. You might not do a split between two kids evenly because you're leaving one of the kids the house, and the house is worth $250 to $500,000. Okay, well, we'll offset that because we'll leave the other child $500K extra out of our retirement account, and that'll offset it. And that's something that you can always play with, and those are discussions we have with our clients.
I've got a number of questions for you. You hear the music. We're going to take a break, but we're going to jump right back into it and pick up where you talked about the contracts versus the will, and how that transitions to retirement as well. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We have Wes Blanchard in studio, and we're going to continue right after this break. Be right back.
Now, is it normal to have a traditional power of attorney and then a separate medical power of attorney? Or would it be listed underneath the same power of attorney?
Sometimes you do it the same. We separate them out.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities.
If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income to contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mortgage Gumbo, can you help me? Can you help my client purchase a new home loan? Gumbo Nation, this is the questions I receive daily from listeners just like you. Hi, this is Dwayne Stein of MortgageGumbo.com, and I'm proud to say yes, I can help you. At Mortgage Gumbo, we guide you through the home buying process, giving you the whys to each step in your exciting journey. Let's start with a free chat today. Visit MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
If you do not have money set aside, you do not have retirement assets, you don't have significant savings, you're thinking, well, when should I turn on Social Security? I'll answer that for you right now. You should probably work as long as you possibly can and as much as you can, because that means you defer Social Security as long as you can up to age 70. And you can keep working past that. That's fine. But at age 70, you have to turn it on because you've maximized it there. And you've created the largest possible payment, and you're going to need all of that.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Yeah, the boys round here drinking that ice cold beer, talking about girls, talking about trucks, running them red dirt roads out, kicking up dust. The boys round.
You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. We bring this show to you every Saturday. Had a couple of best ofs the past couple of weeks. Glad to be back live. We're going to roll through a number of weeks with consecutive live shows as well. I enjoy doing the live show. I miss it when I'm not able to be here and bring that to you, because my mind always has so much stuff going on I want to share with you, and I appreciate the feedback as well regarding the information that we bring you and the help that we give you. And yesterday I had some unique questions. One was regarding annuities, and I'm going to take you through some of that this afternoon and help you understand kind of the right way to look at those financial tools. And I do believe they should be part of how you look at things regarding your money. Here's where I am on estate planning. And I led into this when I had the educational event a few weeks ago. And I kind of started out with a question to the audience. And for you listening today, I'm kind of going to go in that direction. Is if you were in an accident and died this afternoon, how would things look? How would things go for your family, your business? What's undone? And we're talking about your property, your money. How would that sort out? What kind of mess are you leaving hanging out? What kind of disagreements are you leaving behind that there could be clarity? We always think we have time, and we have plenty of time until we don't. And I've just got some scenarios out there from thinking about that standpoint. And let's say we have a couple that are in retirement age and they're kind of up there. They've got each other as beneficiaries. They've got no children per se. They do have extended family. They don't even have an emergency contact person. So one of the things is you're doing fine until you're not. So there's got to be somebody out there to lean on or be a trusted contact person to get help with, because all of a sudden, old Fred abruptly dies, and then Marge is very sick and now hospitalized. Who's making the health decisions? Who's coming in to deal with the house and what's going on with the assets and so forth? What are you doing about Marge? You know, you don't even have a designated person. Why? You thought you had plenty of time, but all of a sudden you don't. I'll share this in a different way. Let's say kind of from a business perspective of handling a family's wealth, where one designated person is kind of in charge, and maybe it's because they're the more fair, level-headed, maybe the more business person, but they always don't see they're not always on the same page with other family members, but this person's really good at pulling them together in direction. If this person's gone, who takes over? And they're all in disagreement, and in disagreement of how they look at the family's assets and the purpose of it. And some of them, when you've got a number of people, Wes, out there, some of them are more about the self-interest. Is kind of like, I want my share now. When you don't have order of who, so, and I use old Fred again, and Fred's a hypothetical dude, to be clear, but old Fred, and I kind of talked about this a few weeks ago. Oh, Fred just has a cardiac arrest and dies. We're hearing that. You kind of say, well, Fred was doing good. Yeah, he's doing good until he died. But that also could be a car wreck. We hear about them all the time, but that's other people that get in those, not us. And then if they don't have a plan for Fred dying in the business structure or trusts, or who takes over direction of that, now, you know where we're at? Litigation there with no direction. And how long would that take to sort out, Wes?
Yeah, I mean, these are things that we discuss with our clients. I mean, just to be clear, I do litigation, right? Succession litigation, estate litigation is something that we practice. But at the outset of every journey like that, we have that discussion with the client that not only is the outcome likely uncertain, you may feel you have a very airtight, strong case. Okay, you still are in front of someone who's a neutral, a judge, and sometimes a jury. not only is the outcome, a bit of a roll of the dice, the time frame is generally completely unknown. Okay. And we've seen many, many times the other side, the opposing side, delay and delay and delay. And that's part of what they can do. They're going through all the legal requirements to delay. It's afforded to them by the Code of Procedure, so they're doing what they can do. But the fact of the matter is that can stretch on for years and years and years. Working on a case currently where delay tactics is being used to continue to collect rent without sharing with other heirs. Okay, and the delay tactic was successfully used. It was within their right to delay it according to law. But it is something that becomes a bit of an unknown, to that client. And it's something you really have to keep in mind, but you can't plan for. Okay. Litigation is the last option, right? So circling back to where you started on Fred passing, and then Marge is now incapacitated. It struck a chord with me because we hear every once in a while from clients or even callers that their estate's not big enough to have a will. Or I wonder if my estate's large enough to even have a trust in place. Does this make sense given what I own? Okay. At its core, you should have a power of attorney, right? Even if you don't want to think about crossing that mental Rubicon of your estate and where it would go and putting a will together in a trust, this will tell you right off the bat why you need a will. I mean, why you need a power of attorney, right? Think about that exact scenario. A power of attorney solves the problem with the family on making medical decisions and handling finances while Marge is incapacitated and Fred's not around, right? Maybe they pass away intestate and you have to sort it out. Maybe there's a fight and litigation is unavoidable. I don't know. But I know for the current time that she's around and she needs help, the power of attorney allows that help to come in, right? Without a lengthy court process of having a curator appointed and family infighting and all those things. So, it really is basic, small steps in getting an estate plan put together. Every document we put together has a tremendous value to it. It may seem routine and innocuous to some people, but man, when you have it, and when you have it when you need it, you're darn sure happy you have it,
And one of the things that cause people to pause, Wes, is price, cost of that document or that will, or and you get into trust. Yeah, it's a bit more complicated, but just a simply point of the power of attorney or just a basic will. We're not talking about thousands of dollars. We may not even be talking about $1,000, but when you kind of think about and you create that pause that like, I don't want to spend that. I don't have a lot. Well, from a core standpoint, and trying to put a number on, and for everybody it's different, but what is the cost on the back end when there is problems like Fred and Marge? Fred's dead, died, wasn't expected. Marge is in the hospital sick. That kind of wasn't expected either. So being they're each other's beneficiaries, that's pretty simple. Who else takes over? But you know who's taking over? Going to be an attorney somewhere on billable hours.
Yeah.
That I don't know what that costs, $200, $500 an hour, court costs, when you could have cleaned it up with maybe, let's just say, even $1,000. And I don't know if that's more or less, just that range. We know it's going to cost more on this other end, and stuff is just left hanging out there for months or even years. Well, you can see where we're headed. We got music. We're going to come and dig on into this on how can you get this fixed now. You're listening at Winning at Life on iHeartRadio.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
Your program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services. Offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC. And Gregory Ricks and Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1976. Cancer Crusaders, Inc. is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $4 million so far, and all of that money goes to the Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center Foundation and the Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are literally working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. CancerCrusadersLA.com.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Fox News, I'm Paul Stevens. Former President Trump taking aim at the judge and 34 guilty verdicts in his hush money trial this week.
So we're going to be appealing this scam. We're going to be appealing it on many different things. He wouldn't allow us to have witnesses. He wouldn't allow us to talk. He wouldn't allow us to do anything. The judge was a tyrant.
The former president yesterday at Trump Tower. There's a new Middle East peace proposal out there for Gaza with more pressure on Hamas.
For months, people all over the world have called for ceasefire. Now it's time to raise your voices and demand that Hamas come to the table, agrees to this deal, and end this war that they began.
President Biden at the White House yesterday. The new proposal includes a 6-week ceasefire and a surge of humanitarian aid into Gaza. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Winning at Life. Live financial news talk radio. A lot to talk about today. We've got Wes Blanchard here with us in this first hour of Winning at Life. Are you winning at life? If you died this afternoon, how are you going to be looked back upon? Did you win? Did you have things in order? Or did you leave a darn mess behind and a lot of questions? One of the core things, and I mentioned this to a group the other day, our objective as a firm with how I've increased staffing, and probably by end of the year we'll have anywhere from 8, possibly 10 licensed advisors on staff. Why? we are creating teams, so there's several people always involved in the care we're taking of you as a person and your wishes with your money, with your estate, just to make sure everything's in order. And we've got enough people to be nudging you, because I'm speaking directly to you about what if you died this afternoon, and you know what, you're I got some stuff to do. 6 months from now, you still will not have done anything. So we're going to talk to you about that this segment. But in working with a firm, I think something's really important, and I get this a lot too, and I just want to have clarity. I think it's real easy to make it through a fit visit and working with us, because what I look for in a client, because I love what I do. I enjoy going to work. I work with the best people. We have the greatest clients. But I want to work with nice people that's nice to our staff. They're good stewards of their money, and they believe in our philosophy, our methodology. You notice there, I don't have account minimums or maximums, but it's got to be a fit with those things, which your assets being taken care of kind of have to fit with our philosophy. And a discussion I keep having with the team is, in a discussion with you, even if it's starting by a phone call or in a meeting, let's find a way to help them. You're already prejudging, well, they can't help me. I'm not in that situation. You're always thinking of why it can't. Well, we're on the other side. I preach to them, find a way to help. And it goes on to this estate planning. Find a way to help. And for couples, they both have to be involved in the estate plan. They have to be involved in the finances. They have to have an awareness of what's going on. If Joe had came, I'm going to use Fred again. Fred comes in and said, well, Marge just really isn't interested. I handle everything. I'm telling you, I have a problem with that, because Marge is going to need to be involved with the finances, with the estate plan. They've got to be on the same page there. She might not want to come to all the meetings, but she has to know what's going on when we do the quarterly reach out. She's going to be on the call too, or we'll call her separately just to check in, see if there's any questions or anything that's needed. I think it's really important for that connection, and I wanted you to understand where we're coming from. So we talk about, Wes, about people not thinking it so directly, like, what if I died today? How would things be? And for most people, we're talking about a house, cars, some savings, not massive assets. Heck, half the people out there have less than 100,000 saved for retirement. But I'll tell you, if it's 60,000 or 90,000, it's that house and it's that old truck and that car in the driveway. All that's important to them, and it's important to the survivor. So how do we solve to get to nudge them to, let's get that POA, which takes care of, helps decisions where you're alive and incapacitated, but doesn't help you and your family after you die. So we need instructions for that. How maybe simplify it, because everybody thinks it's too darn complicated.
Yeah, look, it isn't a complicated matter. It's something that, frankly, is typically done with one initial opening visit to figure out who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. And then the second visit is us executing documents. So, you're really looking at probably an investment of about an hour of your time to get this sorted out. And, what nudges people is going to be different from person to person. I I don't need any nudging because I practice, and my family knows me and what I do, and so they don't need much of a nudge either. But a lot of times it's seeing that person that is an extended family member. Man, they're going through this, and so-and-so's, their kids are fighting now. I didn't know they ever disliked one another. Who knew that? Well, it goes back to the saying as old as this radio show, right? Once the money hits the table, feelings start to change.
Well, let's add in and I don't know how many children we're talking about, whether it's 1 or 5. Typically they have spouses.
Yeah.
And let's say it's 5 kids. They all gotten along. They grew up together. They're not all the same people, but they know how to work through stuff. But they also have somebody else in their ear. You have to think about that too.
And I'm glad you brought that up. That is a topic that we hear from our clients. And, I have a smile on my face when I say it because they feel like it's a very awkward moment to express that sort of uneasiness with the in-law, right? Whether it's your daughter-in-law or son-in-law, whoever it may be. And sometimes it's very cut and dry, and they say, look, love him or her to death. I really do. They're great for my child, and they're great parents to my grandchildren. But, family money is family money. And so we want to make sure that our assets stay in our family. And for as long as he or she is part of that, we're comfortable. But if they ever split, I don't want my in-law taking half of what I gave my child. Sometimes it's not as nice as that, right? Sometimes the in-law is maybe turning some screws, and they don't like that. And, they want to make sure that they're insulated. Their estate plan insulates their inheritance from the spouse. And so we can take care of that as well. But I say all of that just to let you know that is not an uncommon request. We understand it's uncomfortable, but it's not uncommon at all. And we have some good tools to work that out, to make sure that it's insulated. First of all, in Louisiana, your inheritance is going to be separate property, right? But a topic that you and I always get on, it's separate property until you mix it up with community property. And if your community property and your separate property are right around the same amount of money, the courts have basically made clear we don't care, and we're not even going to try to figure out whose money got spent. It's all community at that point.
Yeah, and if you reside in Louisiana, it's extra complicated because of forced heirs that's not addressed. It goes under state law. They have the rules already set for you. Now, you could change it, but if you've got business or property or real estate, a motorcycle, motorhome, whatever, it's going to community property unless you have a document that alters that. Now, there are a couple of small print there is they've got to be age of majority, and they cannot be disabled because they're kind of kept in the loop in that way. And I guess there's ways to address that. But with that said, otherwise they're all sharing unless you have a will that says, hey, mama gets everything, and when she's done with it, then you kids get it.
Right.
And that also might not be even, but that's also where the other thing I talk about is have the conversation with family on what you don't need to get in the nitty-gritty detail, or maybe you should, but you kind of need to say, hey, Darlene's going to get a little bit more than you other two.
Yeah.
Her situation. So there's a little bit more help that's going to go there. So y'all don't be hurt over it. If you're going to be bad about it, tell me your thoughts. Probably not going to change anything, but I just want you to understand. I think, and you always hear, and you brought that up, well, it's an awkward conversation. For who? It's
right.
Really awkward when they're fighting after you die.
Yeah, no, it's much less awkward to have that conversation with your estate planning attorney than it will be for them to have it after you pass away. And look, we deal with it pretty quickly, pretty cleanly. We'll talk about it on the other side when we get back to.
If you want to join the conversation, we've got Wes for another segment. We're going to try to get you to a point and understanding how you can get this done quickly. We'll be right back. You're listening to us on Winning at Life.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of beer salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I want some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mom, it stinks.
Hush, I'm almost done. All right, now you're safe from bugs in the backyard. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your outdoor fun. Call Mosquito Joe today. When you call, they come out and they do the spraying. Mosquito Joe's time-release capsule lasts for about a month. No more sticky bug sprays. Take back your backyard. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
At the core, I always tell people, I'm not here to make you rich. I'm here to make sure you don't run out of money, that you don't run out of income. That's how I look at my job. Over time, saving, making good decisions can make you rich. But what you have is, what is your core thing? Your core thing should be making money. And your core thing, you should set aside money to work elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to put it to risk. You could put it to safety. But your core thing makes you money, or you tell me your core thing is the market, day trading, or gambling in the market. It shouldn't be. You should have a core thing that makes you money, and you peel some off for the future when you're done with your core.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
I believe most people are good and most mamas ought to qualify for sainthood.
Welcome back. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. Gosh, I think this is a great first hour, what we're talking about on estate planning and the scenarios of people unprepared. We're going to jump to the Winning at Life hotline. We have Denise from Slidell. How can Wes and I help you today?
Hey, good morning. I was calling. I just had a question. I was listening to the radio, but I wanted to get your thoughts on someone having two power of attorneys for themselves in the same document. So I don't know. It would be, two names named in a power of attorney, and I don't know if it's worded and or, but have you ever seen that, and what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so thanks for calling. We do see that, and actually that's part of planning that's, semi-regular. In the situation that we were discussing earlier with, husband and wife and maybe you have two children and you have a medical power of attorney that's put in place. Oftentimes we have both children that are named as powers of attorney. And this way, either one of them can can make decisions on behalf of that parent. And if you think about it logically, obviously, we've kind of all been at that point where we're in the hospital with a loved one at some point, and you never really know if and when things are going to happen, but you certainly don't want to have to wait. So, having that flexibility goes a long way, and it also helps, obviously, the family feel like they're included in helping making decisions. But from the medical perspective, we see that often. On the financial side, it still occurs a little less often, because you really have to know that if you're going to put more than one person and that these two people are going to cooperate, that they're going to work together for your benefit. A lot of times it is a little bit easier to give one person that control, although it is also giving them a lot more responsibility and work as well. Giving that one person control helps consolidate the decisions in the decision-making process in general. So it is a very common thing to do. You just want to make sure that you do it responsibly, that you make sure you consider all avenues before you take that step. Yeah.
And is it the wording usually or is it and or how do they usually word it in the document?
It depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Typically, we see them served together. So you can say and so it'll be each person. But we typically make clear that although we name two people together, Joe and Bill are together on this, either one can act independently. So I don't like to use or because then it leaves a question of, well, which one is it? Is it one? Is it two? So I just use and.
Right.
And then I say, hey, look, either one of these people can make a decision on their own. Obviously, they're supposed to work together, but if the moment strikes and a hasty decision needs to be made, this person can do it, and they'll square up with whether that was the right decision amongst themselves later.
We just recently had a situation where, we have that document, but the financial institution we were dealing with didn't really want to accept it because there were two people on it. And so they had a whole rigmarole document that needed to be filled out separately.
That's interesting. Yeah, and look, it's not uncommon to have a power of attorney be presented to a financial institution and then they have to run it through their legal department. That's pretty regular. But for it not to be accepted, I would think that the wording left some ambiguity that made their legal department uncomfortable. So, knock on wood, but my clients have never called me and said that happened to me with any of our documents. So that probably is where it was.
Yeah, so like independent businesses or whatever, they're supposed to accept these documents. There's not something we need to have separately done to, continue business, I guess, for that person who's disabled and can't, do for themselves. Like if you have power of attorney, they should take that and then use, that should allow you to continue their business for them.
Yeah, that should. But, anytime you're dealing with financial institutions, they are heavily, heavily regulated from the government. So they may have felt that, they have to dot their I's and cross their T's and things like that. But typically, yeah, your utility companies, they're going to let you pay the bill, right? They're going to, credit card companies will let you pay the bill, and other small businesses as well. You shouldn't really run into that problem. But again, if the wording is ambiguous and not clear, it's not to say that they have to accept it. It's up to them, but they should accept it.
Okay. And at what point do you give, like, say if someone's ill, and there's a long, drawn-on process of illness and hospitalization and that kind of thing. At what point, like, when you present the power of attorney to an institution, like, does that mean that the living person has, in medical needs or whatever right now, you're taking their rights away to be able to fund, like, what is that document doing when you hand it to an institution? Is it giving you full authority to act on their behalf? Or is it usually presented after death, I guess is what my question is.
Yeah, so a power of attorney, I think the easy answer to your question is a power of attorney is going to expire upon death. So it's only useful when that person can't act on their own behalf. And the other side of your question is, what is it giving the person the authority to do? That's also going to be dependent on the language in the document. Some powers of attorney state that this person can only do, these 12 functions. Other powers of attorney state very broadly that they can take any action that is in their best interest so long as it's done so from a fiduciary standpoint. So, it really is dependent on the language in there. And then one step further is to say that this person who's acting on my behalf can only act on my behalf if I'm incapacitated. Once I'm no longer incapacitated, this basically is turned off. The switch is flipped off on his power of attorney, and the authority conveyed in the power of attorney is now expired. We'll turn it back on if I'm incapacitated again. So, that's kind of, these are really good questions, but these are the questions that, you have to have with your estate planning attorney at the time the document is being enacted, because it shapes what's drafted, what's included in the document in the first place.
Okay. Okay, thanks. I really appreciate it. And you may have covered this already on the radio, but like generally dollar amount, because I had heard y'all talking about that earlier, but like to just come in and do a general overall, documents, like a basic situation for a couple, like what's generally the cost to do, will, power of attorney, and just the basic documents, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's going to be a little bit different. We try to stick in the same average range, but, when you come in, and I hate to kind of like, beat around the bush, but if, what's basic to you may not be basic to someone else, if that makes sense. And so, we're going to be, you're going to be somewhere near for couples in that $1,000 range. But it's going to fluctuate up or down based on, what you're looking to do, and that's joint price. We're not charging $1,000 a person, but it could be a little higher if you're looking to do something a little more complex. It could be a little less if you're looking to keep it very, very, very simple.
And you recommend as far as power of attorney and medical, and I don't know what the other one's called, but like durable.
Financial. Yeah, we typically split those up. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Denise.
All right, thank you. I
appreciate you sharing that. I wouldn't have put you on the spot like that, but one thing to share, you're not doing it on hourly.
Right.
You would like to get it to a flat fee so that they have an expectation and get this done. And where I get to is, $1,000 might seem like a lot, but if you look at something happens on the back end, that's not much compared to what's going to happen financially on the back end and how much pain there's going to be from solving that. You brought up something regarding a settlement, separate property, whether it's first or second wife, in an event happening in Louisiana where somebody's coming into some money and then they abruptly die. And that's kind of the theme. What if you died today, this afternoon? Is that different in Mississippi?
Yeah, so it is going to be different. And just let's circle back. And this is a discussion Greg and I were having off air, and we'll be pretty brief with it. A colleague calls me a little earlier this week. He's an injury attorney. He secured a sizable settlement for his client. And in between the time that the case was settled and money was distributed, the client passed away, unrelated to the injury, but passed away suddenly. So he calls and says, Wes, how is this going to work out? He's got 5 kids and a wife. And the wife is not the mother of any of these children. This is a second wife, and, they get along, but how's it going to go? It's going to go to her, right? Everything goes to her. She gets usufruct of it. I say, no, that's not the case at all. And the reason for that is in Louisiana, your settlement is going to be separate property. So this person passed away without a will. You have an intestate issue. And at this point, your separate property is going to be governed by intestate law. So intestate law says that your separate property immediately goes to your kids. So his thought and your thought over the break was, well, certainly she's going to get something. I said, well, not unless the kids give it to her, and it really changed things pretty quick.
Hey, you're going to get a bonus. We're going to keep Wes one more segment because with the caller, we ran short on cleaning this up for you. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks on iHeartRadio. We'll be right back.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO FM, New Orleans, an iHeartRadio station.
The next chapter is being written. I'm Pam Puso, Fox News. Former President Trump is moving forward after being found guilty on all charges in his hush money trial in New York City.
Former President Donald Trump promises to appeal, and here's how that will work. He'll have 30 days to do it after his sentencing hearing on July 11th. At Trump Tower, the former president criticized Judge Juan Merchan. He called Merchan a tyrant for imposing a gag order on him and refusing to allow the full testimony of former FEC Commissioner Brad Smith.
We're going to be appealing it on many different things. He wouldn't allow us to have witnesses. He wouldn't allow us to talk. He wouldn't allow us to do anything. The judge was a tyrant.
The deadline for post-trial motions is in under 2 weeks, but Trump's attorneys indicate one of their reasons for appeal is a perception of Merchan's bias.
Fox's Nate Foy. Jury selection begins Monday in the case against President Biden's son Hunter, who is facing federal gun charges.
Hunter Biden's life will change Monday when jury selection kicks off in his federal trial. We now know some of the evidence that will be presented during trial. Special counsel David Weiss's team will introduce parts of the Hunter Biden laptop as evidence, which Hunter's lawyers fought to exclude. We don't know yet which parts, though. Remember, this is the same laptop that 51 former intelligence officials touted as having all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. It wasn't, and the special counsel's office wrote the defendant's laptop is real. It will be introduced as a trial exhibit, and it contains significant evidence of the defendant's guilt.
That's Fox's David Spunt. Marion Robinson, the mother of former First Lady Michelle Obama, has died. In a post on X, Michelle Obama said her mother was a steady backstop for the entire family. She was 86 years old. America's listening to Fox News.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. If you want to join the conversation, you're just tuning in. First hour, we've had Wes Blanchard. We're giving you a bonus segment because we got some more stuff to give you to help you sort through. You're kind of needing to document up. Most any situation. Tell me, you have a car, you have a house, you have a checking account, you have kids, you have a wife. How many marriages have you had? You have a pet? You're going to get sick. You could die today. How's that going to look? I know we had a caller and Denise took us through some complications on power of attorney, even though we're getting that to be simple. But what you really need, what I took from that is we still need clarity. You don't need to go and create a document that doesn't have clarity. Like, who's in charge if I get sick? Somebody's got to pay my bills and somebody's got to talk to the doctor. You could have 3 siblings, but my opinion, there should be a lead on that and kind of an order. If it's always on committee, and look, a family's going to talk, but somebody should be more in the lead of that, because we're all dealing with emotions, and there's got to be this decision at some point is, yeah, we're not going to force feed them. They wouldn't want that. We know that. And the brother would come in and say, you know, I think she's got some more years in her. I think those documents are for clarity. With that said, you're helping them navigate your wishes. They don't, and it doesn't mean you said, look, don't put me on some pump. Don't force feed me. If my heart can't beat on its own, just let it stop. No, we're going to keep them going. You could have that. But also on the other side of the coin, somebody's got to pay the bills. Somebody's got to deal with the money, and I want my electricity turned off while I'm up here in the hospital for a couple months. That's what we're wanting, some clarity. And then you die. How's that getting handled? We don't have to get and have a 50-page document. You could probably get a will knocked out in a couple pages, which gives some clarity of order on things that are not your life insurance, not your IRA, not your 401k, like your house, the dog, the gold coins hidden in the closet, so forth. How do we get them to get this done?
Yeah, it's tough. And I think it starts with conversations like this, right? And we try to give real life examples as much as we can, right? We have to obviously keep the anonymity there. But these are not far-fetched theories,
I'm going to jump right back in there. Now, it goes both sides. We're talking to Fred and Marge about getting something done, but Susie and Tim are the kids, and I challenge people, have a conversation with your parents.
Yeah.
And if they don't do it, just tell them, hey, I'm going to call Wes. We're going to set an appointment. I'm going to help you get this done. And it might, Fred, he says, I'm not spending even $100 on that. Well, Susie might need to step up and say, you know what? I got you.
Yeah.
We're going to get this in order. And because she knows that life's going to be better in an orderly fashion. Maybe you need to step up, pay for it.
Yeah, we've seen that happen, certainly. We've had that conversation with children and their parents alike to say, look, the kids are saying, hey, you're kicking pretty good here. You're 75. You're still cutting your own grass. You're washing your own clothes and dishes, and you're just really taking care of yourself. We don't think that you have any real problem. But, man, 75 is 75. At some point, you need to at least get this taken care of. We hope you live another 25 years plus, right? But at the end of the day, you've reached a point where the time has come. So let's get this done. It doesn't mean you're going to pass away tomorrow or anytime soon, but let's get this cleared up and you can continue to focus on being that person you are now. It really is a matter of just getting it over with. And this is why I think it gets procrastinated so often. And that's really what we try to battle as much as we can. And it's why we try to streamline our meetings. It's why we try to streamline our discussions. We know some people want to hang out in the office and talk shop, and I'm there to do that. I get it. I'm happy to do that. Other people, you can feel that they're cringing being in there. And so say, look, we'll get you in and out of here as quick as we can get everything squared away. And I promise you that. And so we try to make it a quick process for them. And it's just kind of knowing the client, knowing the person. But back to your family scenario, it's knowing the parent, knowing the person that you're dealing with. And also, as the child, take inventory while you're asking your parents to do that as well. Why don't you get it done at the same time they get it done? So they see, look, my child who's 30 years my junior is also getting this done. And so we're kind of getting through this together. Sometimes that's what gets it going.
Let me help. Speaking to the audience here, let me help you with this. Where somebody says, I just don't want to spend $1,000. Well, you're 75. I don't know. You could die this afternoon, or you might be around 20 more years, 22 years. But let's say you're around 10 more years, and it's going to cost you $1,000. You know what that cost is over the 10 years? It's $100 a year. It's nothing. But if you died this afternoon and you had spent the $1,000 last week to get it fixed, guess what? It's tremendously valuable to those that you're leaving stuff behind and got to go through this. Hey, that funeral's not going to be cheap. It costs a good bit more than it did a few years ago, and they've got to go through that. That's another part of this, putting things together. isn't that much. Especially if you are going to live a while, then it becomes invaluable. I kind of like that perspective because somebody doesn't think about it. I got to replace an AC system, and I look at it. Heck, I keep having problems, and you know what? It's going to cost me 10 grand, and it's basically guaranteed for 10 years. I looked at it. It's $1,000 a year for peace of mind, $100 a year for peace of mind on the will.
Yeah. Yeah, look, it's money well spent. It's something that, I've said before. I think it's worth the weight in gold when you have that document, certainly when you need it. It's just, in my opinion, it's just got to get done at some point. I mean, you really think about not only the peace of mind aspect, but what if you know that your heirs are likely to have some arguments, right? You really need to square that away. You need to make sure there's nothing to argue about, right? Those are things that you can help when you're past. You can help the family still stay cordial if it needs to be, right? Those are things that, again, it's everybody's perspective and everybody's experience is a little bit different about what's going to motivate you, but it's got to get done at some point.
We feel that way. I feel that way. For our clients, the binder they get on the delivery meet has a section for estate planning, and I don't want that to stay blank. We nudge. We're going to work through that and always be asking about it because we want those documents put in that section of the binder that has everything in order, and it's just part of what we follow up on. Even if it's old Fred, the attorney Fred doing it, that's fine. I have a bias towards Wes because I know the stuff's right from that standpoint. What is the steps they need to take? We got a couple minutes left. I'm not going to keep you here longer. I appreciate you giving us this bonus segment here. What do they need to do next?
Yeah.
We've gotten through to them. Okay, I could die today. What do I do?
You can reach out to either Greg's office. He'll get you in touch with us. You can reach out to our office directly. The website's WJ Blanchard Law. You can give Greg's office a call. Again, he'll help get you set up with all of us. We have a phone number as well. It's 504-500-8473. We'll get you set up. And whatever works for you works for us. We want to make it easy. I'm not just talking about it, right? If you want to do it on a telephone because coming into the office is tough for you and you want to communicate through email, we can do all of that for you and really work with your timeline. If you're a sit-down person, we offer that as well. So we want to make it, as pleasant of an experience as it can be for you. Reach out to either one of our offices and kind of get the ball rolling.
Let's see, where are we at? Let's jump to the Winning at Life hotline. We've got James from Reserve. How can we help you?
Yes, I have a quick question about executorship. Oldest brother is executor of the estate of my dad. And here we are 3.5 years later, and it still hadn't been settled up. He hired a lawyer. Do the siblings have a right to approach the lawyer to find out what's the hold up? Because it's not much money we're talking about involved. But my mom, my dad never did executed, her portion before. Never did succession on her. So that was one of the glitches in it. But what are our rights as siblings to approach that lawyer? Because he hired the lawyer for the family.
So the lawyer typically is going to represent the executor. And with that in mind, that lawyer is not obligated, obviously, to share information with you directly. Although, this should be a transparent process. If the executor feels that your interests are adverse to his, then, he very well may instruct that lawyer, hey, look, we don't want to dole out information and take calls and run up the bill and all that stuff. We've seen that happen before. We've had representation where, our instructions were communicate with everyone clearly, and then some things hit the fan, and it was, hey, cut it off. They're going to go get their own attorneys, and you'll talk to them, and that's how it is. So, approach them, ask, just don't expect it to happen.
Gotcha. Appreciate that.
Thank you, James. Appreciate you. Wes, thanks for sharing with us today. This has been pretty intense 5 segments that we did with you. Once again, you're listening to Winning at Life. We'll be right back on iHeartRadio.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities.
If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income to contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mortgage Gumbo, can you help me? Can you help my client purchase a new home loan? Gumbo Nation, this is the questions I receive daily from listeners just like you. Hi, this is Dwayne Stein of MortgageGumbo.com, and I'm proud to say yes, I can help you. At Mortgage Gumbo, we guide you through the home buying process, giving you the whys to each step in your exciting journey. Let's start with a free chat today. Visit MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardraw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
If you do not have money set aside, you do not have retirement assets, you don't have significant savings, you're thinking, well, when should I turn on Social Security? I'll answer that for you right now. You should probably work as long as you possibly can and as much as you can, because that means you defer Social Security as long as you can up to age 70. And you can keep working past that. That's fine. But at age 70, you have to turn it on because you've maximized it there. And you've created the largest possible payment, and you're going to need all of that.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Welcome back. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. Hope you appreciated the past hour on the show. Tremendous life stuff. And I try to nudge you, but you know, sometimes life impacts us and gets our attention from that standpoint. So we need you to take action. You know, one of the questions that came up recently in one of our the estate planning and tax planning event I held a few weeks ago. And just the necessity about taking action from that standpoint. And I address the audience more about what if this is now? What if that's now? And we need to be proactive. I think you should utilize somebody, and somebody might say, well, why do I need an advisor? I can do it all myself. Well, I've got Nicholas on hold about to come on. I'm going to ask him. He's hearing this, so he's getting a heads up because I asked him, well, why should they have an advisor now? But I'm simply a question I like to respond with. I said, I'm going to be gentle, but how many retirement plans have you built? The answer is either going to be 0 or 1. And we've collectively done thousands of plans. What you have to be concerned about is, what do you not know? What do you not aware of? What's outside the box that I didn't see? And who do you have as a sounding board to run things from? Because I don't think working with an advisor, working with our team, is just to talk about the investments. It's talk about the estate planning. It's talking about how you see the future. How's this going to impact things that we come across, why you need to look at things differently. Let's go ahead and get Nicholas Rohde on the line, wealth advisor over at Gregory Ricks and Associates, a Total Wealth Authority Advisors and Retirement Solutions. Hey, Nicholas, welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning. Happy June.
Yeah, it's like it's June 1. To me, it's officially summer, but I know summer started a few weeks ago. But here's another big day. Start of hurricane season. That's a scary thing to say for us here on the coast.
Hopefully it'll be over as fast as it came, though.
Yeah, did you get to hear any of the segments with Wes?
I did catch some of that, and it's so powerful to have not only, a sounding board and a team to help with the investments, but that legacy and estate planning is crucial. And just with all the cases we ran across as a firm and through our lives, personally and professionally, that is just such a critical topic that I think many people tend to push aside or ignore or get to later. And that's why I loved how you mentioned, we're gonna give that gentle nudge to try to help people and coach them and guide them that this is important, to make sure you have everything laid out how you want it to go if today was your last day.
Yeah, and I, as you heard me discuss, it's not just about the investments. It's where you should have other unrelated as well as related discussions about the why. And heck, the kind of review of the past year is pretty quick, because you can actually pull up our firm app and go look at your stuff anytime, anywhere. And you probably shouldn't do that, because that creates too much worry. That's for us to do, to keep up with things throughout the day and every day, but also to take that long view as well. But, like in the client binder, we have a section for estate planning, and so many people that's empty. And it's something simple that's going to be like, look, if you died this afternoon, you're not going to be aware. Well, hell, I left a mess behind. No, you're just going to die. Everybody else has got to deal with the mess you left behind on stuff unintended in how it goes. And that's so important. And then we're not talking about investments, but we talk about how are the assets moving on? How does income happen? How's my wife going to deal with all this? Some of us have simple lives. We're house, couple kids, maybe a pet at one time, maybe still have a pet, car. And whether you're working or retirement, it's not complicated. And let's say you got 90,000 in assets. Half the people out there have less than 100,000. And then some have more. So most can kind of fall in that realm, and I think they need this help as well. We're kind of, I don't have enough money. Well, you know what you need? I don't have that much money. I don't have enough money. So I don't think I need your help. They probably need our help more, wouldn't you say, Nick?
Yeah, I'm just having, a team that's got the expertise and experience and can be a resource because like you said earlier too, when Wes was on, is you don't know what you don't know. And just having a group of people that are versed in this world to just give some guidance and help, that can be critical on someone making a mistake or things going better for themselves and their family. And even with what you just mentioned about, no matter what the asset limit, people, if they've got family, if they've got a spouse, if they've got kids, something happens to them and they're no longer here, there are ways to leave on money to your family more tax efficient. There's different tools you can utilize, different strategies that if you want to leave more money to your family and less to the government, there's ways to do so, but it just takes some planning and working with a team that knows how to navigate you through that.
Let's shift gears. We're always about nudging people. I think everybody should utilize help. If they're needing to judge how to get help or who to use, what would be a couple bullet points you would throw out there for them to make that decision on who to get help from?
Well, that's a great question. It reminds me of the call when we had Brandon on, one of the other advisors on the team, and you guys were talking about the product pushing, going to events, and all they're talking about is products. That is one surefire flag right there. When you're judging and interviewing and just trying to find a fit for your family, it should be a conversation about goals, philosophy, how you think as an investor and your psychology, because ultimately you're trying to find a fit. The same thing we're trying to do, have a fit conversation. And communication is key, that you feel comfortable, that you can communicate with the advisor and the advisory team and everybody there to support you, to where you can be open and honest and know that they have your back. And I've had many clients I've talked to about this, and we talk about how it's similar to the medical field, where if you're talking to your doctor and you don't tell them the truth about what's going on, they need to know that. They need to know what you don't want to tell them if they're going to help you and put you on the right path and try to give you the right guidance. So I think if someone's looking for a firm or for some help, you've got to find that comfort, have that fit visit, that you feel that you've got communication, you've got a long-term relationship you can build, and that you've got not just one person, but you've got a team of people that has your back that you can use as that sounding board and have discussions with. And especially just like with estate planning, they might be hard conversations, but they need to happen. And it's good to have that advice and guidance and just be able to talk about it instead of just read about something. You've got a live interaction that you can bounce ideas back and forth with.
And I just think it's so much more, and at the core thing, people will come in and their main reason might be about I'm just stressed over my retirement plan, or I'm wanting to retire. Can I retire? How much income am I going to get? They need us to walk through that, and that might be the start of it, but then they find out there's so much more because we care. We're going to check in on them, because it's one of my favorite things first to talk about is I'm evaluating how are they doing, and sometimes I might have to ask them twice about that and about the family, because it is a relationship. It's not just the Sharpe ratio that we're going to talk about, and probably most listeners don't even know what that is, and that's okay. That's something we look at a lot of stuff, but we're not going to waste your time talking, because we handle that for you. But it is about life and how life's going to go, and what are your goals, and what do you want to accomplish there? And when they get to realize that, there is so much more, and just the investing is just a part of that. Your thought?
Yeah, because there is, like you said many times before, there is no retirement without income. So it doesn't matter how many investments you have, you got to have a plan for how you're going to take that income and build it, and there are tax-efficient ways to do so. So without even talking about stocks, bonds, mutual funds, investments, there's so much more to that we want to have those conversations about and see if there's value we can bring. And that's critically important, I think, in that conversation, in that fit process.
Next topic we're going to talk about when we come back from the break is how to win more by losing less. You're listening to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. We're going to take a short break on iHeartRadio. We'll be right back.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks and Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1976. Cancer Crusaders, Inc. is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $4 million so far, and all of that money goes to the Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center Foundation and the Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are literally working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. CancerCrusadersLA.com.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Fox News, I'm Pam Puso. A full and complete ceasefire. President Biden has unveiled a proposal that would entail the withdrawal of Israeli forces from all populated areas of Gaza and a surge of humanitarian aid. Also,
release of a number of hostages, including women, the elderly, the wounded, in exchange for release of hundreds of Palestinian prisoners.
the plan was hatched by Israel, which maintains it's still committed to destroying Hamas. It's hurricane season in the Atlantic.
Potentially up to 25 named storms. This is NOAA's forecast. 8 to 13 hurricanes, 4 to 7 major hurricanes.
That's Fox Chief Meteorologist Rick Reichmuth, who says water temperatures typically recorded in August are already being seen. America's listening to Fox News.
Hey, those lyrics seems kind of relevant, but we can't just get a drink and ignore everything. So, and your financial health cannot be ignored. Hey there, I'm Gregory Ricks, host of Winning at Life. Thanks for joining us in hour 2. I have Nicholas Rohde, wealth advisor over at Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority, advisors and retirement solutions. What'd you think? Those lyrics were somewhat relevant, huh, Nicholas?
They hit true to life. That's true.
Yeah, one of our topics lately, and you and I on a regular basis have some pretty deep conversations. We're always involved in planning, and the other members of the firm that we're counseling or always interacting with. And I just think a couple of things before we get into this win more by losing less is I love how we've evolved over the years to having this large team of people that is defined by teams within the firm of helping clients. And it's a lot more than just the investments, but it's where they've got a couple of advisors connected to them. They've got a couple of service people. They've got the relationship team. They have me involved with every team as well. Because here's the reality, Nicholas. You know, the estate planning event, I had a gentleman in the back said, you know, tell me about turnover. Do you lose people at the firm? And I said, well, we hire humans. That's how I started off the response is I said, yeah, there's always going to be rotation, and we plan for that in how we build out. But the reality, what do we see out there that most people are dealing with? Little firms or one advisor and an assistant. And they've got their whole future hanging on one or two people there. And I just think that's an important concept that people don't grasp, of having a team of folks looking out for you. Because like Nicholas, are you always available? You're just sitting around waiting on calls to come in, huh?
No, I am not. I mean, that's what I love that, and I love the progression as a firm we've had, and just the building and the awesome teams and, you know, employees that we put together as, you know, a family, because we're basically a family company to help out families. And just having multiple people, multiple contact points that you trust them, it makes it so easy when life happens. Because like you mentioned, you know, we hire humans. We're all humans. I want to take a vacation with my girl. You know, people will get sick. People will have different things happening. You don't want it to be, and I know for me, coming from my personal experience there, I wouldn't want to be with a firm that when they're on vacation, I can't get to anybody or I can't get a question answered. So it's good to have, you know, multiple people looking out for you and that have your back. And yeah, that's what I said. The progression we've had is just, I absolutely love it. It's incredible. I hope we keep everybody and keep on growing. But we know we've got human beings, but we're always going to make sure we've got the people there to help.
Yeah, and we hire A players, and we aim to keep our A players together, but we can't force them to stay, but we incentivize and take care of them and give them flexibility there. So we want to keep our great team together and build upon that. A lot of our discussions you and I have on how we view our portfolio, and one of the things people don't necessarily think about, but we think about how the investor thinks, how the saver thinks, how the client thinks. I'm kind of phrasing it in a few different ways, but we all also, you know, you can just, well, just ignore the volatility. Don't worry about the going down. You know, if you've got a 20-year horizon, you only win 100% of the time. Yeah, but people don't think that way. They see it going down and it's all going to hell, even if it's a little bit. Some don't have much tolerance. And then Nicholas on the other side, oh yeah, I'm fine with volatility, until it happens. You know, I remember a discussion I've shared with you a few years back. A client said, you know, we just picked up on their concern about volatility, and they're saying, no, I don't want to change anything. and I would respond is, but I think we need to make some changes, because here's the phrase. She says, no, I don't want to make changes. I just don't want it to go down. I said, but you know it's going to at some point. We went round and round for a little while on that. We did make adjustments to that portfolio because it just having just, let's say, utilizing S&P 500 ETF. What's it going to do? Sometime it is going to go down. So you have to understand that. So with the invest 50-50 philosophy, we want to be ahead of that, minimize the going down. And you and I've come up with a tagline now because of some adjustments of how we other view it. But the invest 50-50 basically describes balance on risk. But we've added something to that, and I'd like you to explain, because you give a great take on it, on how we do that. But that tagline with the invest 50-50 philosophy is win more by losing less. Help us define that.
We were talking about that the other day. And actually just on Friday, so yesterday with our advisor team, we had myself, Mason, Lou, Kaylee, and Janae all sitting around looking over some scenarios and cases like we do every Friday. And we were looking at our investment philosophy, the invest 50-50 philosophy, with that goal of winning more by losing less. And we've talked before about our goal is not to make people rich; it's to make this money last and to make an income plan, a legacy plan, an estate plan. And when you look at minimizing volatility, and we can still use risk assets and you have a balance with different asset classes, you don't have to take all the ups and all the downs to have positive long-term growth potential. And by using these different asset classes, instead of all the ups and downs of volatility and, like you mentioned, the psychology of the investor. Because with the stock market, volatility is the price of admission for long-term growth, and it's all fine when it's going up, but people get very nervous when it goes down. So with our philosophy, we're able to use tools and asset classes that can minimize or eliminate a lot of that volatility, which means you do not have to recover the major losses. And, we're math people here, but we're humans, and we want to get, emotional and get comfortable with people. And I love that math example that if you lose 50%, you don't need 50% return to make it back. You need a 100% return. And when you go over the math with people, I see the eyes open, wow, that's scary when it comes to volatility in the markets. So we've got tools and our planning, our philosophy just to help minimize that, which also makes a more comfortable investment plan that clients don't have to stress when they see the news or they see the markets moving on the internet. It's psychologically speaking, statistically speaking, it's a much more comfortable place to be in, I believe.
Yeah, and one of the things we've decided a little while back on our shift is when we break down the invest 50-50 philosophy. So if I draw a line down the center of the page and we look on the left side of that, that's kind of where we talk about our stock bond mix, strategic mix. And then in the past, we've also talked about tactical that follows momentum, and then buffers as a part of that. And we got in a deep dive a little while back, and one of the questions I asked is if we had buffers when we started using tactical, would we have added tactical in? And it really came down to is no, we wouldn't, because buffers do a better job. So we were basically removing tactical because buffers protect and limit downside exposure, and it gets us most of the upside that's coming along with that. Now, strategic, I believe, should be a part of that, but not necessarily for everybody from there. But what we like is reducing downside. So, instead of going 20% down, you're not having to make up that 20% to make that, because we're protecting you from that downside. You can hear the music. I want you to pick up from there when we come back from the break. I'll reset it again and let you walk them, the listener, through this. You're listening to Winning at Life on iHeartRadio. We'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne tasting of beer salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I want some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mom, it stinks.
Hush, I'm almost done. All right, now you're safe from bugs in the backyard. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your outdoor fun. Call Mosquito Joe today. When you call, they come out and they do the spraying. Mosquito Joe's time-release capsule lasts for about a month. No more sticky bug sprays. Take back your backyard. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
At the core, I always tell people, I'm not here to make you rich. I'm here to make sure you don't run out of money, that you don't run out of income. That's how I look at my job. Over time, saving, making good decisions can make you rich. But what you have is, what is your core thing? Your core thing should be making money. And your core thing, you should set aside money to work elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to put it to risk. You could put it to safety. But your core thing makes you money, or you tell me your core thing is the market, day trading, or gambling in the market. It shouldn't be. You should have a core thing that makes you money, and you peel some off for the future when you're done with your core.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us this weekend on Winning at Life. We appreciate your being there. If you've got a question, want a show topic talked about in coming Saturdays, reach out to us, info@GregoryRicks.com. Ask a question, go and just give us some questions or some topics, some feedback, as well as calling into the show, 504-260-0995. If you've got a Nicholas question, he's with us right there. So, Nicholas, when we went to break, I was talking about the left side of the page when we kind of talk about the strategic investment strategy as well as buffers, and how overall that whole page has to do with win more by losing less and not have to make up so much ground. Just like if you had a 50% loss, 50% doesn't get you nowhere near back. It takes 100% just to get back even. So take them through why we like buffers and how they work.
Okay, yeah, these again, you don't know what you don't know, and there are some incredible asset classes and tools out there that we like to utilize for clients within that invest 50-50 philosophy. So like Gregory mentioned, we have risk off money we like to use and risk on money. So that left side of the page he's talking about, that clients will know this from visits, or people who interview us will see this. We like to use different asset classes, different models to achieve that long-term growth goal with risk assets. Part of that is some strategic money, like you mentioned, but also we like to use buffers as a dynamic and tactical model in itself to help minimize losses. And essentially, my favorite description of, in general, how buffers work and why we use these to minimize the downside actually deals with insurance. It's like we're all very familiar with car insurance and homeowners insurance and flood insurance. Well, we have to acknowledge, just like with insurance, that statistically speaking, crashes will happen. So, especially with car insurance, we're paying for car insurance every single month because of the odds that if something were to happen to us, we have protection. We're not fully liable for that. So I think about that in terms of the asset classes we use in the risk world, where using buffers is kind of like having insurance for the risk money, where we acknowledge a stock market crash and a stock market correction. It's out there. They're going to happen. And I believe Bank of America came out with a study that said, and it reminds me of shopping, 3 for 5 and 1 for 10, that there are 3 5% S&P 500 falls every year, and there is 1 10% S&P 500 fall every year. So they're going to happen. Using buffers is us acknowledging that a crash and a correction is out there. But when it happens, we want that insurance right now to be prepared to come out of that crash unscathed, or maybe just with a few scratches and bumps, not a head-on collision. And I use that insurance example with clients and people having those fit visits with us because it connects. That's that human part of it behind all the data-driven minds we have to help people understand how these type of tools work and why we as advisors put this into our modeling to just help with the long-term growth, minimize volatility, win more by losing less, and just have a more smooth, comfortable long-term plan when it comes to the risk side of things, which deals with how we feel with the comfort of how our money is being managed when we see the news when the markets are falling.
You know, people are impacted by the noise and worry, and then they'll go check the accounts and see that it's down and just make knee-jerk reactions. So that's why we think about how investors think. But we don't want to, part of our philosophy has always been is I don't want to have to make up lost ground. I kind of think of this as war over money. I don't want to, as a general, what he doesn't want to have to do is lose ground because it's going to be expensive to recover it. Well, losing money is expensive and takes time to recover. So let's not put ourselves in a situation where we've got to make up much ground or make up much money going back. And the other thing that just crushes people over time is volatility. And we can take you through scenarios. We can take you through history and show you that a risk portfolio is not going to weather well when you're taking income, and we refer to that as sequence of returns. Negative sequence of returns going to destroy you over time. So we have to minimize that. And that's why we also have the right side of the page is where we like index linked, where we're protecting the downside completely. And I had a discussion in the event I spoke at yesterday where I was asked about that question is, why would you use that? Why do you like that? What do those caps mean? And one thing about it is I've said, for where the market mostly runs, and say you've got a 10% cap on that right side of the page, is, once in a while the market's going to make more than that and you're not getting that. But we know the market's up historically 7 out of out of 10 years, so up 7 out of every decade. But occasionally you're going to have a negative year. So there's 3. 3 years could be negative. And what is that for you on that right side? It's 0 from there. But which side of the page would we rather be taking income from to keep growth opportunities intact but not get hurt by negative sequence of returns? We would like that right side of the page of where the income's distributed from. What would you add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. With the sequence of return risk, it's a big fancy phrase, but we can show people when they're in our office the actual numbers on how devastating things can be if you're generating income in retirement from risk assets. And many people, that's what I see them doing. So when you're utilizing on that right side of the page, risk off tools, models, portfolios where you have protection, you're not taking losses, you're not trying to recover ground. And actually, when you're not having that loss and you're resetting at a 0, you've got even more potential the next few years to make more money with the upside with caps than you do if you were on the left side with risk and recovering ground. So just having that balance is important to be able to generate income and let your risk assets keep working and growing long term. But then with the addition of the long-term growth money, having buffers in place even helps reduce the volatility on the left side, the risk side as well. So it just creates an overall more protected portfolio with upside potential and minimizing the stress and the headaches and the risk. And I was just reading my daughter, The Little Engine That Could, last night, and it made me think about this. I think I can. I think you've got to have that momentum. When you build that momentum up and you keep pushing forward, you can achieve incredible things. When that momentum stops or people make knee-jerk reactions or pull back or sell from the market because they're in too much risk, that's hard to recover from and hard to start that engine up again. So that's why we utilize the risk off and the risk on assets. But again, with those buffers and those indexes for the upside linking, it just makes it a smoother portfolio. And like you said, it kind of comes back to that tagline we talked about. Just we want to win more by losing less. And mathematically, it's beautiful. It works out really well for us.
Yeah, mathematically, it works really well. And we also need investors not to make bad and knee-jerk reactions, because Buffett, one of his favorite things is he likes to buy when everybody's selling, because he knows one thing, it's going to come back. We just don't want to be exposed to those big negative troughs, and we don't want clients exposed to that, because if we're not having to make up ground, then we have an opportunity. Once again, just think it's real simple. You have the opportunity to make more. And then we want to take income, because the reason you save is to build up income. We want to take income where we don't have negative exposure. Because we went through, I remember an eye-opening case that we did as a group research where the client came over and I don't know, they were taking 6.5% incomes or 7 from assets, and the firm there was, it's going to be fine. They're going to fine. Well, that was very misleading statement given to that client, because we ran the analysis and here's the point, you're going to run out of money. And they were very heavy in risk, and we kept working the models, and actually what it showed is we had to get more money to the right side of the page, which made their money last longer. They needed to dial back some of the spending, but it actually showed that more to the right side of the page, the index linked, made the portfolio work better. So I know it's counterintuitive. Some people think, well, there's more opportunity, more risk, I can get more. No, the impact of taking income is going to make you run out of money faster. 20 seconds for your last thought.
Yeah, it's just like a stress test. You go to the doctor, you stress test everything. We can stress test the portfolios to show folks the impact of having too much risk when they're wanting to retire and supplement income.
Awesome, Nicholas. Thanks for joining us in hour 2 of Winning at Life. I'll see you on Monday. You have a blessed weekend.
All right.
You're listening to Winning at
weekend, everybody.
Life with Gregory Ricks. We'll be right back.
From the Gregory Ricks and Associates Wealth Management Studios, WRNO FM, New Orleans, an iHeart radio station.
I'm Pam Puso, Fox News. Now that former President Trump has been found guilty on all 34 felony counts in his hush money case in New York, Fox's CB Cotton reports what comes next.
We got a first look on Friday when Trump came out by himself to speak to the media at Trump Tower. He said he was still under a gag order and he took no questions following his 35-minute speech. But he called the presiding judge in the case a tyrant, and Trump painted himself as a victim of a fascist state. President Joe Biden spoke out on the verdict for the first time yesterday, saying this.
The American principle that no one is above the law was reaffirmed. Donald Trump was given every opportunity to defend himself.
House Speaker Mike Johnson said he believes Trump's conviction should be appealed all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court.
The former president is set to be sentenced July 11th, 4 days before the Republican National Convention. Jury selection begins Monday in the case against President Biden's son Hunter, who is facing federal gun charges.
You know the old saying in Nassau County that when one trial closes, another opens, and that's what's going to happen Monday in Delaware when the president's son Hunter faces those 3 gun charges, which carries up to 25 years in prison. The president has long maintained his son did nothing wrong. Now, we caught a glimpse of Hunter when he hitched a ride aboard Air Force One from Delaware flying back to Washington. Both President Biden and his 54-year-old son attended Mass together on the 9th anniversary of the death of Joe Biden's elder son, Beau. Recall, it was Beau's widow, who Hunter later dated, who threw that gun, a .38 caliber Colt revolver, into the trash can. That sparked this case. Hunter admits he was on drugs at the time.
That's Fox's Lucas Tomlinson. And Marion Robinson, the mother of former First Lady Michelle Obama has died. America's listening to Fox News.
From the Fox News Podcast Network.
I'm Emily Campagno, and this is the Fox True Crime Podcast.
And I had nothing to do with her disappearance, but people still accuse me of it.
I sit down with the people who lived the nightmares.
I was in shock. I was just devastated.
The investigators who tirelessly worked on the case.
I feel for their families, and I really hope that they can catch this guy.
Bringing you closer to the story than you ever thought possible.
Listen and follow now at foxnewspodcasts.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Get all of your favorite Fox News podcasts commercial-free on Apple Podcasts with Fox News Podcasts Plus. From Dana Perino, Kennedy, Ben Domenech, The Duffys, and many more. Subscribe now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com. The Fox News Rundown, a contrast of perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. Your daily dose of news twice a day. Featuring insight from top newsmakers, reporters, and Fox News contributors. Listen and subscribe now by going to foxnewspodcasts.com.
An ex-U.S. admiral is charged with bribery. Fox's Deborah Valentine reports.
Prosecutors allege retired four-star U.S. Navy Admiral Robert Burke agreed to award a government contract to a company in exchange for an annual salary of $500,000 and a grant of 100,000 stock options. The 62-year-old did not enter a plea during his initial court appearance in Miami on Friday. His lawyer says his client would plead not guilty during his trial. Two business executives of the firm, identified only as Company A, were also arrested. They face up to 20 years in prison if convicted. Deborah Valentine, Fox News.
President Biden is urging acceptance of a Gaza peace plan put forward by Israel. Fox's Jared Halpern has more from the White House.
A three-phase, weeks-long ceasefire would allow for a path to permanent peace in Gaza, the return of every hostage kidnapped by Hamas, and allow aid to surge into areas devastated by the war, President Biden says.
Hamas says it wants a ceasefire. This deal is an opportunity to prove whether they really mean it.
The president also addressed pushback to the proposal in Israel, saying the offer was made only because Hamas has been decimated and left unable to carry out another October 7th style attack. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
The NYPD is boosting security for tomorrow's Israel Day parade in Manhattan. An internal NYPD memo is warning about a potential threat given the war in the Middle East between Israel and Hamas. But officials all...
You all are so good. I've listened to you for...
To ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
Hey everyone, Hour 3 of Winning at Life. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. Thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining me this hour. Been doing this show for almost 14 years. Kind of crazy to think about it. I appreciate the feedback as I go about my work daily and out in public when people catch me and share they listen to the show and give me feedback on topics that they like that we talk about. Had one yesterday regarding health and they liked how I talk about that more. And I'll just share the book while I'm thinking about it. No, it's not my book, but it's something I read recently. A norm, also with my other stacks of books that I'm working through, but this one was recommended by a doctor, and it's called The Glucose Revolution. Easy. You can find Jessie on Facebook and Instagram as the Glucose Goddess. She does videos and tips, but her education, what I define her as a chemist, and a book, and I always like on investing to dig in, and we like to give you the why behind everything, and I think there's importance. That is very important. It's to understand what may look chaotic to you or madness. There is a reason behind it, and we're not living in that chaos and madness on the investment world, because what you have to have is success. How many times do you get a shot at retirement? Once. You can't mess it up. You can't let somebody mess it up. There's no tolerance for that. What you going to do? Go back to work at age 85? The estate plan. Let's see how many. Now you can make tweaks to it, and it probably should be updated and altered. But you know what? If you don't create any documents, what'd you leave behind? A mess, chaos. You have a shot at getting that right, and I think you should. It is important. Your health People, kind of the point is, what would happen to your world, your family, your stuff, your money if you died this afternoon? We need to prepare for the future, but I need you looking at it differently going forward. What if I died today? What would be the impacts? And then on the other hand, you're going to look at it two ways, not just, I'm going to live a long time. Okay. There's good probability of that. So how's your money going to do? And are you working with somebody that has a philosophy, win more by losing less? Because the losing is the problem. And they nudge you and keep you on course, and they're forward thinking and critically thinking and strategically thinking about what's to come, because that's what planning is. What adjustments do we foresee this year, next year, the year after? That's the conversations. Takes about 1 minute to look at the past. The past is the past. And if you were exposed to too much losing, well, yeah, that's kind of a problem. Are we going to continue that, or do we have a plan to stop that from happening? Here's how I define from a health standpoint, going back to the glucose goddess. I've been very proactive in health over the years, but I did put on some weight the past 4 or 5 years. Not happy about it, but I didn't know that there's an alternative. Had a knee injury, 3 surgeries on my right knee, so it altered my exercise routine and stuff over the years, and kind of got out of that. But I'm always proactive on health tests and such, on how's my heart, and these other things, and checkups, and lots of different tests on the blood work. And then was introduced to a program to get even more proactive this year. But the part of that introduced me to eating with purpose versus just eating. And I grew up outside Hattiesburg, Mississippi, and I remember there was a kid going with my grandmother into fields picking peas and butter beans and pulling corn, and we ate vegetables, but didn't understand the why and behind all that. And then early this year, just realized, actually last December, it's like, how much bread am I eating? I'll tell you, way too darn much. It was a point, every week I'd have to buy a fresh loaf of Bonnie bread. I love white bread, and I want it fresh. Well, I can tell you this, I hadn't bought a loaf of bread since December, because I started counting. I read an article, guy was talking about his weight loss. He could do it he said, I can describe the reason why in one word: bread. And he treats bread as a dessert. I didn't understand the why, but when I added up, I'm eating too darn much bread. So I eliminated. I'll tell you about the only time I have some bread is when I have a homemade cheeseburger. I don't buy cheeseburgers out from anybody else, and I'm eating my veggies before, because there's a process to eating, and Jessie explained that to me in the glucose goddess. And she said something in there. She said, when people start following this purposeful eating, most people lose weight. Well, I was one of most people that has been losing weight because that. But I also have a nutritionist on the other end. She's like, you got to make sure you get the protein. I would have, sometime in the evening, I would have dinner, and then the next morning I would go, I would have coffee, and next time I'd eat was at lunchtime. Well, now I feel like I eat more because I've got to eat 3 times a day. The emphasis is I've got to get in so much protein, and I think it's kind of a challenge there. because I'm eating with purpose. My body's using the excess fat that I don't need and uses that. I don't need it robbing my muscle because my muscles protect my bones. Why did I take this altered path? Because I want 10 more good years of life. Because I love what I do. I love my clients. I love my A players on my team. I love my family. I want to be around longer in better health. We'll talk about that more after the break.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
My mother just inherited a couple of annuities.
If you could explain the difference between a government pension offset and the windfall elimination provision is.
You now make too much income to contribute to a Roth IRA.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
You all are so good.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mortgage Gumbo, can you help me? Can you help my client purchase a new home loan? Gumbo Nation, this is the questions I receive daily from listeners just like you. Hi, this is Dwayne Stein of MortgageGumbo.com, and I'm proud to say yes, I can help you. At Mortgage Gumbo, we guide you through the home buying process, giving you the whys to each step in your exciting journey. Let's start with a free chat today. Visit MortgageGumbo.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
If you do not have money set aside, you do not have retirement assets, you don't have significant savings, you're thinking, well, when should I turn on Social Security? I'll answer that for you right now. You should probably work as long as you possibly can and as much as you can, because that means you defer Social Security as long as you can up to age 70. And you can keep working past that. That's fine. But at age 70, you have to turn it on because you've maximized it there. And you've created the largest possible payment, and you're going to need all of that.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Welcome back. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. Hey, you're getting some health talk as well. You know, if you want to join the conversation, 504-260-0995. I failed to mention, we're in hour 3 and I didn't even mention, you could be watching the show. Just throw it up on your TV. You know, that's a cool thing with these apps. You can have me pulled up on your smartphone, but you can now throw it up on your TV. It's just a cool thing to do. But yeah, we're over on the Winning at Life page. We're streaming there. I didn't even share it to my personal page. Let me jump over there, do that. That's what, while I'm doing this, why don't you share the show as well for me? let's see if I can get there and do that quickly here. Let's see, share. There we go. Share the show. Winning at Life. Share now. Change. I might have done it wrong. I might have shared it to the show itself, but let's try this again. Go to Winning at Life. There we go. Scroll down, sharing the show. So cool. And that's one of put the word out of the work that we do here. You don't have to become a client of mine. You don't have to come in for a meeting. If you come in for a meeting with the firm and it's a fit to check us out. You're not getting into a product pitch or investment pitch and having to make a decision. It's a fit visit. If you don't want to come back in, don't. It's okay. But you need to bring your spouse. Both of you need to be there, because we're not doing, if you're a couple, we're going to work with both of you, not one of you. So they have to both be involved there. And it's a fit. I don't have minimums or maximums. What we want to do is be able to add value and help you in life. And it's a relationship. We're going to want to know how you're doing. How's the family? We're going to check in on you. We're going to call you every quarter. We're going to have you in every year. Even if you don't want to come in. We're going to need to communicate there. We want to get to know your family too. And we care about your health. Back to the health. Here's something I did, and I'd made progress back in 2023, and my results were improved over the past couple years on the blood work and stuff. And one of the things that impacted me on at the end of last year's blood work results was what I had done the previous 12 months, and that was consciously reduce consumption. You know, go to the restaurant, they bring you out a plate of food. I'm telling you, I don't finish it. You know, I make my awesome homemade cheeseburgers. I used to eat the whole darn thing. You know what? Only eat half, and it's okay. I just don't need the rest. If anything, I got to cut it in half because I'm not going to finish it, put it in a little baggie and have that later on that. Less consumption, because here's a thought I jotted down during the break I want to share with you. We need food to live, but food can also kill you. I had a brother-in-law years ago. He's no longer alive, and I had a talk with him. I remember it was out in the driveway, and he's just putting on weight, eating junk food and stuff, and I told him I was worried about him. I said, you've got to quit eating the junk food. You've got to quit eating so much. You're eating yourself to death. He didn't like hearing that. I shared it out of love. But you know what happened? He ate himself to death. Food killed him. We need food to live, but we don't need it to kill us. And I'm telling you, most of you overeat. I used to well, that's all they're bringing. Well, you know what? I pushed, and when I've had enough, or I think I've had enough, I push the food away. I don't keep it in front of me, and I'll push it across the table, or said, take that. And they'll say, well, do you want to box it up? No, I'm good. I've had enough. Moving on from that. So I meant to also, where I told you, what I was doing is I'd have lunch, would be the end of the fast. And my doctor said, no, you've got to have breakfast every morning. You got to stop the fast in the morning, and you've got to have some protein. And then I kind of shared with her, well, that's not getting it done. You need more protein. So more emphasis on protein, but we're layering it with vegetables on the front end. Because actually another change that I've had to make is because I need layering, so we need to start with some vegetables and some salad, and that creates like a screen for your food to go through for then your protein, and if you're having any fats or carbs, it's getting filtered because of the greens. And so going to a restaurant, what do I look at first? I want to see what the sides are. And I know they're puzzles sometimes. I'm like, yeah, I want that steamed broccoli. Go ahead, bring that out to me. Get that going, and then we'll figure out what else because I got to get the greens in me first. It's eating with purpose. And I think I eat more. Now it's like, gosh, I got to eat. And my wife, Stacy, we're both going we're a team on this, on philosophy. And sometimes she's, I just don't feel like eating. I said, but we got to get some protein in. So, and I'm sharing this with you because I love you too as well. And I want your life to be better, longer, and heart healthy. So you don't have a cardiac arrest and die, or have clogged arteries. You can have a longer, healthier life. We don't want a longer, unhealthy life. We want a longer, healthy life. I love what I do. I love the clients, my team, my family. I want to be around longer, healthier. Because people ask, well, Gregory, what's your exit? You plan to retire? That is not in my future. Right? Retire from what? I love this. I'm probably going to do radio another decade or so. I don't know. I don't have an end date. I don't have an end date to the firm. I love what I do. And I want to be around, and I want to share this knowledge that I keep building up and pass that along, empower others as well along the way. So I go back, get that book, Glucose Goddess. Glucose Revolution by Jessie, which she's referred to on Facebook and Instagram as Glucose Goddess, or you can go get it on Audible, because I'll tell you how I read it. I had it on Audible while I was reading the book and making notes in it as I went. And I'm like, I got to hear that again. Got to go through that section again, because it's just like, wow, I had no idea. It's kind of like understanding win more by losing less. And I'm not talking about gambling. You know how you win more by losing less? A casino, don't go in there. Well, how do you think they built those big buildings and all? You're going to get separated from your money. I even got a topic on taxation of that I may or may not get to on today's show, but I'll get to next week. So it's important conceptually to understand on investing. You win more by losing less. So we don't, and if you get in a situation where you're caught in a down market, which doesn't happen on those deep troughs that often, but it sometimes takes a while to come back, but they do come back. But you can't be taking income from those risk assets and have that go well for you long range. Because what's the choice? If you're going to take income from risk assets and have volatility impact it, how you avoid negative sequence of returns impacting it? You have to stop your income or dramatically reduce your income that you're taking from your risk assets. So are you wanting to go back to work, starve, so to speak, have less money coming in? No, you got to have a proper plan, proper built portfolio. You got to work with people that understand that. And as I mentioned earlier, your goal is to have 8 to 10 licensed advisors on the staff. We're not far from that now. But here's the other important thing is we are all on the same page. It's all the same philosophy. Advisors aren't picking out different portfolios. It's a firm philosophy. It's the invest 50-50 philosophy. You win more by losing less. And we do, and the entire team does planning together on the cases and case reviews together. And if, like Nicholas was on hour 2 of the show with us today, but, you know, if he's out sick or on vacation with the girls, you know, the other advisor that's helping you while he's out, because there's always more than one on your team, it's the same philosophy. You're not getting something different where somebody says, well, Gregory, I want the good one. They're all good because they're at our firm. If you want this kind of help and love, 504-832-9200 is the firm's phone number. Call now, set up an appointment, GregoryRicks.com. We'll be right back.
You all are so good. I've listened to you for years.
Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
I have a broker. He has no idea what you and I just talked about.
From your 401k to your IRA to your pension to your Social Security to your Medicare.
Hi, Greg. Appreciate your service to the community.
From your ETFs to your precious metals.
The program helps to ground me. There's some personal, real life there.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and wherever else you can find podcasts, probably.
That's exactly what I needed to know. Hey, I love your show.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. The firm is not affiliated with the U.S. government or any governmental agency.
What does your ideal retirement look like? Is it traveling the world, fishing whenever you want, spending time with the grandkids, or maybe you don't know yet? Hi, I'm Gregory Ricks. Let us help you plan the retirement you deserve. Give us a call or go to GregoryRicks.com to schedule a visit. We are Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority.
The firm provides insurance services, investment, and advisory services offered only by duly registered individuals through AE Wealth Management, LLC. AE Wealth Management, LLC, and Gregory Ricks and Associates are not affiliated companies.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live, and if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there, on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Cancer Crusaders has been raising funds for cancer research in New Orleans since 1976. Cancer Crusaders, Inc. is a nonprofit, all-volunteer organization with no administrative overhead. Cancer Crusaders has raised over $4 million so far, and all of that money goes to the Louisiana State University Health Sciences Center Foundation and the Tulane Cancer Center in New Orleans, where they are literally working on a cure for cancer. Get involved, donate, volunteer, or attend a fundraiser. CancerCrusadersLA.com.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Fox News, I'm Paul Stevens. Former President Trump promising an appeal after multiple guilty verdicts in his hush money trial this week. His daughter-in-law and Republican National Committee co-chair Laura Trump.
Look at, since he decided to run for president again, how they have gone after him, weaponizing the justice system against a political opponent. This is communist at heart.
Laura Trump on Fox's Hannity. Some early reaction from Congress to a new Middle East peace plan for Gaza, putting more pressure on Hamas.
I do believe that Hamas needs to be destroyed, and it needs to be followed to the end until there's an absolute surrender and they are able to either in exile or they're brought to justice or they're eliminated.
Pennsylvania Democratic Senator John Fetterman on Fox's Special Report. America's listening to Fox News.
Are you winning at life? How's your retirement plan look? Not winning yet? Well, you may need a coach. You may need a financial advisor. You might need a life coach. You might need some help. I'm a big believer in coaching. By the way, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Winning at Life. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. Been doing the show in about a week. It'll be 14 years of bringing you live radio, commentary, thoughts, tips, how-tos. But I can go back, trying to put a timeline on this. I don't know, 20 years or so ago, you probably could have said, what is your outlook on the business and industry and what your future plans are? And I had no expectation of this, of having this many employees, this many advisors, this many offices, let alone doing a radio show for 14 years. So I don't necessarily try to trap myself by saying I won't do that, I won't do this, because sometimes your journey takes a life of its own. But I've accomplished much more than I envisioned and dreamed about. But one thing you do is you take a look at where, as you're continuing to grow, is you just take a look at as to where you are and then what's next and adjusting to next. So I don't restrict the future and growth, and I'm careful not to say, well, I won't do that, I won't do this. But sometimes it doesn't always go well, and you pull back and make adjustments so you can move forward as well. And a part of that is having the openness to lifelong learning, to always be getting better by reading. And it isn't necessarily to the reading that I do, but I'm always acquiring knowledge. But I'm always getting counsel from those that know more than me, that have experience, that have been through these things, that I can get ideas from. My object, like I attend a lot of business conferences. I have coaches that, and I don't keep the same coaches, but I'll like spend a year getting coaching from someone, and then for the most part, I'm good after a year. I move on to next because I'm wanting other ideas and information. Nothing wrong with them, but I'm typically looking for more, something else. And I've got, one in Darren Hardy that I've used off and on for probably a decade now, and really enjoy how he's evolving as well. If you don't have money saved, you're trying to do it on your own. You got to worry about what you don't know. And one of the things is we have so much in resources and the capability of spending money to get more resources to help you that you don't, just to be honest, you don't have any, for you to be a do-it-yourself, well, I'm going to go it on my own. Well, it's like you being your own doctor. How's that going to go? You're probably eating too much, and you're eating too many carbs. You're buying in the center of the store. You're trying to pick your own stocks, read charts yourself, and it's and creating a lifelong journey financially is not just about the investing. But you have no idea what you don't know. Nicholas spoke so well to that in hour 2, is you just don't know what you don't know. Because, an event, long ago had a gentleman on the Q&A at the back end said, well, why should I use your firm? Why should I use a financial advisor? And I simple question. I was gentle with him. I said, look, tell me, how many retirement plans have you built? He said, 1. I said, well, it was either 0 or 1. I said, the problem is you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't have access to. And we think about things that you're not thinking about. Why? We've built thousands of plans collectively. And we live it, talk it, breathe it every day. So that's a reason for that. See where I'm at. Let's talk about the market right here. Here's my. I've started something new that we're going to do on Facebook Live. Put a video out every week, and this was this past week's weekly commentary. Markets have been on a run lately, and they started out last week with more upward movement. In fact, markets hit new highs before things took a dramatic turn midweek. This is about the previous week. What happened? Well, the Fed released the minutes of its last meeting, and they revealed that Fed officials may be willing to keep rates higher far longer. Markets have been counting on rate cuts, and the idea that those may not happen as soon as expected just didn't set well. Lower than expected initial unemployment claims, plus a stronger than expected manufacturing reading may seem like good news, but the opposite is true. Both sets of data show that inflation isn't coming down and the economy is holding its own. The Fed wants to see weakness in both these areas before deciding to cut rates. The other factor affecting markets last week, trading typically slows down on the Friday heading into the 3-day weekend. That made it difficult for markets to regain their footing by the end of the week, although they did come back slightly heading into the holiday. And that was my commentary for that week. We saw that inflation came in as expected at 2.8, but they're not getting a drop enough. So good news is kind of bad news. When the market would like to see cuts, the Fed would like to cut, but they got this little monster called inflation that is staying there. So let's see. A couple other thoughts here. Where am I on time? We got a break coming up here in a moment. I want to go to our sponsors of Winning at Life and give thanks to them. Dwayne Stein, mortgagegumbo.com. Jude Heath of J. Heath and Company, CPAs. Wesley Blanchard, he was on hour 1 of the show. Great hour. It's the replay on Facebook Live is going to replay immediately. You should tune in. You should hear that first hour. We're going to try to get it up in a podcast for itself in the coming weeks. Tremendous 5 segments there that he was on with us this morning. So it's Wesley Blanchard, W.J. Blanchard Law. I love this firm, neworleans.mosquitojoe.com. You know, I hate those darn mosquitoes on my property here in NOLA. I don't have to put up with them because the Mosquito Joe gang takes care of that for me. It's, mosquitoes are non-existent around here. Spitali's Deli and Catering over in Metairie, great lunch place. Gregory Ricks and Associates, the Total Wealth Authority, advisors and retirement solutions. Yeah, my firm and my day job, show sponsor as well. And we also couldn't do this show without iHeart Radio as well. So we appreciate what they do for us as well. And I think we got some great things coming for you as well. So show some love to those sponsors. If you'd like to be a sponsor of Winning at Life, reach out to us, info@gregoryricks.com. I want to talk to you when we come back. I've got another topic I'm going to share with you here would be winning. This is a MoneyWise article. It caught my attention. Winning at retirement may come down to you dodging 3 careless mistakes. I love that article title. Caught my attention. I wonder why. Because we want to be winning at retirement. We want to win at life. Are you winning at life? Let's see if we can help you with that. And then if we have a few minutes, I'm going to talk about annuities for a hot minute. We'll be right back.
If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory.
I started my retirement about 5 years ago, and I truly am late in life.
Would I be better to just withdraw the money out of my TSP and pay that mortgage off?
My problem is I have champagne taste in the beer salary. What is a balloon note?
Is that cutting it too close?
So will I still be eligible for Medicare?
Is there anything better I can do with the money I transferred into the Roth from my 401k? My goal is to retire at age 60. I'm 54 right now.
Hey, I have a 9-year-old son, and he's got probably $2,500 in. Is there anything we can invest it in?
And I just started a 401k a little late in life.
Then that should be like 10%.
Now, how far in advance do you recommend that someone goes to visit the Social Security office?
I want some money in a casino playing poker.
Gregory Ricks and Associates, 504-832-9200 or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Mom, it stinks.
Hush, I'm almost done. All right, now you're safe from bugs in the backyard. Don't let mosquitoes ruin your outdoor fun. Call Mosquito Joe today. When you call, they come out and they do the spraying. Mosquito Joe's time-release capsule lasts for about a month. No more sticky bug sprays. Take back your backyard. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com. NewOrleans.MosquitoJoe.com.
Ask Gregory is the financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
At the core, I always tell people, I'm not here to make you rich. I'm here to make sure you don't run out of money, that you don't run out of income. That's how I look at my job. Over time, saving, making good decisions can make you rich. But what you have is, what is your core thing? Your core thing should be making money. And your core thing, you should set aside money to work elsewhere. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to put it to risk. You could put it to safety. But your core thing makes you money, or you tell me your core thing is the market, day trading, or gambling in the market. It shouldn't be. You should have a core thing that makes you money, and you peel some off for the future when you're done with your core.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks, Saturday mornings at 10 on News Talk 99.5 WRNO. Find us on the Winning at Life app or GregoryRicks.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
Nowhere to go, nowhere to be. I got my shades on, top back, rolling with the music jacked. One on the wheel, one around you, baby. Sunset, I bet there's a chance we can.
Winning at Life. Live financial news talk radio. You know, this, when I speak of people that we're working with, people that we want to help, and I'll tell you, that is discussions I've had with the firm, with the team, our relationship team, and my thought is find a way to help them or bring them value. And if we can't help them, give them moving forward information. Not always a fit, not always can help, But, from a standpoint, and I think maybe on next week's show, we're going to talk about the new fiduciary rule, of the obligation, of the change that's coming. And this change, I'll put it simply, is we in the industry, we can't say we're fiduciary. I know there's this firm that uses that on commercials, but I think that's going to be a problem for them running those commercials in the future the way they do it, because the DOL's rule that came out, that's kind of problematic from that standpoint. But what it is and what they're trying to get to, if you're working with somebody and they're selling you a financial product or discussing or giving advice, it doesn't matter who they are. They're under an obligation to disclose risks, and that information or what they're doing has to be in your best interest. And for us, that's part of that fit, is, can we bring value? Can we do this in your best interest and give you full disclosure? That's at the core of how we think anyways, but I'm glad the world's coming here, because I get tired of product pushers and implied misleading, which happens a lot with annuities. I think annuities are a core thing we dislike most, but there's a few we utilize in strategies. But I am tired of what goes on out there, and product pushers doing seminars and misleading about income riders and these income rider bonuses, which are not real money. Had a person cancel, and I'm doing commercials, and I've talked about on the show, is this 5% world we live in now used to be a 1% world. So we've got campaigns where we talk about upgrading annuities and taking advantage of this modern interest rates. And if you bought an annuity over the past 20 years, you probably may be tied into a lower interest rate. And we're doing mailers and announcements that to create this awareness, because who you're working with or who you picked up that annuity from might not tell you about this, or they were just a salesman, they sold you something and they moved on. They aren't acting as your advisor, acting out of care and obligation to you. They just sold the product and they moved on. We're wanting you to reach out and have that discussion. But I had somebody cancel a meeting. It came back to me. I said, well, why was that canceled? Well, they called their insurance company, and the insurance company told them, and they bought the annuity a few years back, told them that, no, it probably wouldn't be in your best interest. I'll tell you whose interest it was not in for them to update that annuity. It was not in the interest of the company for them to do that. Those companies want to hold on to those assets, and they're tied to lower yielding bonds, which limits your future upside. Because understanding how an annuity works, a fixed annuity is supported by an underlying bond portfolio so that they can draw interest to produce the guarantees. If you've got an underlying portfolio supporting the annuity that you bought a few years back that averages a couple percent, because go look at what your caps are on the index links or the interest account on that, and you can see it's probably 1.5% or 2%. The caps are 3 or 4, if not less. You're locked into a bond portfolio, so you're not going to get caps like that are being given now of 10 and 11% and have an underlying interest rates of 3, 4, and 5%. You've got less opportunity going forward. Oh no, it'd not be in your best interest to update. Yeah, well, from the company standpoint, yeah, they want to keep those assets. You're under obligation to you, yourself, your family. You need to take a look at what that is out there. You need to consider doing an upgrade, an update. Look at what the opportunity is. If you got somebody telling you not to, here's second opinion. Get a second opinion. Late day rally drove the Dow up 575 points and helped all three major stock indices finish higher despite a recent swoon in technology stocks. This is Wall Street Journal from yesterday's market close. Stocks opened Friday higher following pre-market release of the Federal Reserve's preferred inflation gauge. The personal consumption expenditures price index broadly matched Wall Street expectations, posting a 2.7% gain in April from a year ago. Traders pulled back after closely watched indicator of economic activity, the Chicago Business Barometer, fell deeper in contraction territory to register its lowest level in 4 years. Buyers poured into the market about 15 minutes before the closing bell to bring every sector in the S&P 500 but energy into green for May. The Dow Jones Industrial added 1.5% to finish May up 2.3%. The S&P 500 gained 0.8% Friday to end the month at 4.8% higher. Treasury yields declined Friday. The yield on the benchmark 10-year note ended at 4.512%, down from 4.55 Thursday, and the year-to-date high of 7.706% in late April. The biggest gains in the S&P 500 on Friday came from energy, real estate, utility sectors. Technology shares were the only industry not to finish the day down, and only by a hair after a late rally. The era of low interest rates had investors piling in to expensive growth stocks during down markets. Lately, though, they've been seeking safety in shares that trade at much lower multiples of future earnings than technology stocks such as utilities and energy. So that's a little bit of market from yesterday. And let's get back to winning at life retirement. MoneyWise article may come down to you dodging 3 careless mistakes. Number 1, overlooking inflation. Inflation could put a considerable dent in your nest egg, and ignoring or overlooking its effects could be a big mistake. I like to build in inflationary increases in income planning. Paying too much tax on retirement income. That's why every time I do an educational event, I'm talking about tax strategies and not adapting your investment portfolio to life changes. Life's not going to stay the same for the next 30 years. Hey, y'all have a blessed weekend. Reach out to us during the week at GregoryRicks.com if you need some help. And I'll look forward to seeing you here next Saturday at 10 a.m. This is Winning at Life on iHeartRadio. Y'all have a blessed weekend.
Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through the insurance business Gregory Ricks & Associates, Incorporated. AE Wealth Management does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by Gregory Ricks & Associates, Incorporated are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing carrier. This radio show was intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for a financial decision, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Gregory Ricks & Associates is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Gregory Ricks and Associates. Please remember that converting an employer plan account to a Roth IRA is a taxable event. Increased taxable income from the Roth IRA conversion may have several consequences, including but not limited to a need for additional tax withholding or estimated tax payments, the loss of certain tax deductions and credits, and higher taxes on Social Security benefits and higher Medicare premiums. Be sure to consult with a qualified tax advisor before making any decisions regarding your IRA. Neither AE Wealth Management nor advisors providing investment advisory services through AE Wealth Management recommend or facilitate the buying or selling of cryptocurrencies. Third parties and guests of the show are not affiliated with, nor do their opinions reflect those of Gregory Ricks and Associates or AE Wealth Management. AE Wealth Management provides services without regard to political affiliation, and the views of individual advisors are not necessarily the views of AE Wealth Management. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Walton and Johnson, making mornings great on News Talk 99.5 WRNO FM.